Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here. So not long ago I made a video that was a primer on hand traps. So for new players, introducing what the hand traps are, why they're so valuable, common ones that you'll see. Well, I decided to do the same thing for the rank 4 toolbox because this is the thing that a lot of people talk about, but some new players may not understand what that is and why it's so good. So let's talk about what the rank 4 toolbox is exactly. It's basically a set of rank 4 Xyz monsters that are easily accessible and have a lot of flexible purposes that any deck can make use of. The rank 4 toolbox is sort of named that because it's sort of like a toolbox, a set of outs and answers to common problems that you can easily access because so many decks have simple ways to make a rank 4 Xyz monster. It just takes any two level 4 monsters. Let's hop right in with Castaho, the Sky Blaster Musket. Anyway, basically this is the biggest, I think, card that comes to mind when people think of the rank 4 toolbox. You can detach an Xyz material from this card, target a face-up monster, and change it to face-down defense position. Pretty good effect. Also, you can detach 2 Xyz materials from this card, target a face-up card in the field, and shuffle it into the deck. Really good effect. This card is popular because it basically outs any common problem that you'll see on the board. Big boss monsters, problematic spells or traps, it just sends them back into the deck, and that's huge. It doesn't destroy, so a lot of cards don't get to float. Sending them back into the deck means that they won't be hitting the graveyard where they might be able to do some other problematic thing. And in addition to that, it actually has a decent first effect that just lets you flip a card face down, and this is actually the effect that a lot of people don't always think about. You can use that effect twice, whereas you can only use the spinning effect once. So you can actually just use Castaho simply to swing over a big monster rather than necessarily getting it off the field. So if it's something that won't float, you could just use Castaho and flip it face down and swing over it because Castaho has 2,000 attack, not bad, and that's just great. This card actually has power crept a lot of older, different Xyz monsters that were outs. So it's the one that you'll most commonly see. You'll probably want to have one or at least one, probably 2 copies in your extra deck if you're just running the common rank 4 Xyz deck. The next card, Abyss Dweller. So this one's been around for a long time, and basically once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card, and any card effects that activate in your opponent's grave can't be activated this turn. So that's really good. A lot of decks use graveyard effects. The most common one that comes to mind is something like Burning Abyss, but I mean honestly there are plenty of others. Loads of things like Cosmos, and let's see what else. Mermails, actually, when this card was released, was at that same time. Those decks need to be able to activate their graveyard effects. So when you use Abyss Dweller and they aren't able to do that for an entire turn, that really shuts their strategy down. This is great against decks that have lots of floating monsters when they die. Think Yang Zings, where if you were to use Abyss Dweller, you could then activate a Raigeki on a Yang Zing or a Burning Abyss player and they wouldn't get any of their graveyard effects. Or you could just use Abyss Dweller and just swing and attack all of their monsters and none of them will actually be able to recover. And that's really huge. Plus, another benefit to Abyss Dweller is that you can use it twice. So you can use it, once in your turn when you're trying to attack their stuff, and then you can also use it in their turn so that they can't recover. So this card's really tough to deal with. The only weakness, I guess, is that it only has 1,700 attack. But what you'll find about a lot of the cards in the rank 4 toolbox is they're not really known for their attack strength. They're just known for their utility. The next card is number S39, Utopia The Lightning. So this card is a fairly new one and unfortunately a little bit tough to get a hold of, but you can Xyz summon it by using a rank 4 Utopia monster you control. So even though it's rank 5, we're considering it as part of the rank 4 toolbox because you have to run a rank 4 Utopia and then you just put this guy on top of it. Once per chain during damage calculation, during either player's turn, if this card battles, while it has Xyz material that's a Utopia, but of course it will, you can detach 2 Xyz materials from this card and its attack becomes 5,000 during that damage calculation only. In addition to the fact that when it's battling, your opponent can't activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. So basically, this is like the ultimate way to out something in battle. You can swing over even Egyptian God cards because this guy goes up to 5 freaking K. And your opponent really they can't do anything. They can't like Dimensional Prison, Mirror Force, anything that would change attack or defense. They can't do anything to stop it. So Utopia The Lightning is great for outing any of those types of cards. And similar cards that I was mentioning with Abyss Dweller, Yang Zings or Cosmo Dark Destroyer, for example. When you destroy them with this guy's effect, they won't be able to activate their effects in their graves. So it's really valuable. I'd say the only downside to it is that you can only get the 5,000 boost once, but I mean that's usually all you need. And maybe the other downside is that you technically have to dedicate 2 spots in your extra deck, one to Utopia and then one to Utopia The Lightning. The next card is number 101 Silent Honor Ark, a card that unfortunately kind of got power crept a bit by Castaho, but it does have its uses. You can attach 2 Xyz materials from this card, target a special summon monster your opponent controls that's in face-up attack position, and attach it to Silent Honor Ark as Xyz material. Also, once per turn, if this face-up card would be destroyed, you can detach an Xyz material from the card instead. So this offers a few interesting benefits. Basically, you're able to steal an opponent's monster and use it as material, and after that, it's actually used to protect Silent Honor Ark. So if Silent Honor Ark would die, you can just attach that instead. The benefit that I'd say that this offers mainly is that it outs, a problematic monster without destroying it, because some things are immune to destruction or they float when they go to the grave. Instead, it'll be under this as an Xyz material, which means that it's not in your opponent's graveyard for them to use, at least not immediately. And I'd say that's a really, really big deal. Generally speaking, though, Castaho is going to be kind of the better bet just because it's a little more flexible, can stop a few more things. And this can't even take face-up defense position monsters, so that's like And also can only take special summon monsters, so not anything that was maybe normal or tribute summon. And we know tribute summoning is kind of becoming a big deal with True Dracos and other things like that. So yeah, next card, trafficked rafflesia. So one of the more unique parts of the rank 4 toolbox, it's unaffected by trap cards, but the bigger deal is once per turn during either player's turn, you can attach an Xyz material from this card and send a whole normal trap card that meets its activation conditions from your deck to the grave, and this effect becomes that trap hole card's effect. So basically what this means is you can trap hole your opponent from your deck. While you have rafflesia on the field, if they normal summon or special summon something, you could like bottomless it just by sending the bottomless from your deck to the graveyard, and that's that. I mean, that's really cool because trafficked rafflesia has 2,500 defense, so she's going to be hard to actually swing over. You sit her there, and then you're just trap holing your opponent. And obviously we know trap hole cards are pretty good. Bottomless is great. Traptrix, Trap Hole Nightmare is a very versatile card. Time Space Trap Hole too. The only downside of this card though is that it's not as proactive as some of the other cards, whereas the other cards in the rank 4 toolbox tend to immediately out a bad situation and then let you kind of keep moving. She's more of a control card that you have to set her in the field, maybe in addition to other things. So she's going to slow your opponent down, but that's really all she does. Also, the maybe sort of slight weakness, I guess, is that you have to run the trap hole cards in your deck. And these days, running a lot of trap cards isn't always desirable. So that's one thing you might not like too much. The next card is oldie but goodie, Gagas Cowboy. So not as popular today, but he has 2 really valuable effects. In defense position, you can inflict 800 damage to your opponent just by detaching an Xyz material. And in attack position, if it attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 1,000 attack and the opponent's monster loses 500 attack, effectively making it 3k. Normally you're going to be using it mostly just to do the burn damage. For a long time, Cowboy for game was a popular term because maybe if you attacked your opponent with a lot of stuff and they had like 700 life points left, you just overlay into Gagas Cowboy, boom, 800 for game. And that was kind of his main purpose. Nowadays, there are plenty of other cards that do a better job of swinging over monsters, Utopia The Lightning, and a couple of others on this list. So really, he's not as popular now. There's just more like cards that offer more value you can use in your extra deck. So, but he's still here in this list just because he kind of has a legacy about him. And the next card is Digusto Emeral. Kind of a tough card to get your hands on, but once per turn you can attach an Xyz material and activate one of these effects. You can either target 3 monsters in your grave, shuffle them all into the deck and draw a card, which is the important one, or you can target a non-effect monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. So, if you're running a vanilla monster deck, then Digusto Emeral can summon like vanilla monsters back for free, and that's a big deal. But the main thing that you'd be using it for as part of a rank 4 toolbox is just to recycle combo pieces, put them back into your deck, and draw as a reward for it. So Zodiacs make extensive use of this card, but throughout history there have been lots of different decks that have. So this card doesn't really out anything, unlike a lot of the other cards in this list, but I still felt like I should include it because it's just a commonly played one, and if your deck can use it, you really might as well. The next card is Tornado Dragon. So this is actually a new one. It just takes 2 level 4s like always. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can attach Xyz material from this card, target a spell or trap in the field, and destroy it. So this is huge because it's basically like a sort of MST type effect that you can use twice and during either player's turn. And that means, being spell speed 2 means it's chainable. So you can use it whenever your opponent activates, say like a field spell. We've got plenty of those searching field spells nowadays. Let's see, Dragonic Diagram, Reckless Magical Circle, all those sort of, the Hidden City, Sky Iris. You want to be able to stop those cards immediately. You can also stop things like Tinky, things like Zodiac Barrage, just pretty instantly. And because you get to use 2 of these, you can like pop something on their turn and then also pop something on your turn, things like that. Just an interesting, neat new addition. I actually want to get my hands on a couple of copies of this card because I think it looks awesome too. And the next card is Diamond Direwolf, a card that in some ways has been crept by, things like Castaho and things like Tornado Dragon, but once per turn you can detach an Xyz material from this card, target a beast, beast warrior, or winged beast type monster you control, and another card on the field, destroy them both. So you might be thinking, well, this isn't really generic because, like, if my deck doesn't have beast and beast warriors and stuff, then I can't use it, but Diamond Direwolf can destroy itself. So for a long, long time, people would just make Diamond Direwolf and use its effect and just destroy itself and destroy a back row card. That's really for decks that can make rank 4s more easily. So if you're only maybe making like 1 or 2 rank 4s per turn, then this probably isn't the best card. I'd say it's been a little bit crept out by things like Castaho. It's just better for outing things. Things like Tornado Dragon can destroy spells and traps for free without losing itself in the process. So I've never been a huge fan of Diamond Direwolf just because I don't like the idea of losing the monster after you've already had to use like 2 monsters to make it. So it's more hit or miss, not as popular these days, but still worth mentioning. And then we've got some of the more niche ones, Karin Gorgon, the Anti-Luminescent Knight. So during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets exactly 1 card in the field and no others, you can detach an Xyz material and then target another card in the field that would be an appropriate target, and that effect now targets the new thing. So this is cool because it basically redirects cards. This, if you have it on the field and your opponent tries to maybe MST one of your set cards, then you can use Karin Gorgon and redirect that MST to one of their spell or trap cards, which is really valuable. Same goes for, a lot of monster effects. If it's something that would target and pop one of your monsters in the field, then you can use Karin Gorgon and then it kind of gets reversed. The important thing though about Karin Gorgon, I guess the weakness of him, is that he's sort of like trafficked rafflesia. He doesn't immediately out anything. He just sort of sits in the field and offers a little bit of control over your opponent. But when they see Karin Gorgon, they're gonna kind of know like that's his effect. You know what I mean? So like once they read him, they're gonna try to get rid of him without really needing to target him. So yes, he can protect himself and your other cards, but your opponent probably won't be dumb enough to let you really get away with that. But I guess the cool part about him is that he does have decent attack compared to most of the cards on this list. So that's the thing, and if it's kind of a safety net. Like if you have nothing else to go into, you can always just go into him, and that's an extra layer of protection. Next, we've got Gagas Samurai. So pretty niche, but you can attach an Xyz material, target a Gaga monster you control. It's going to be him, and it can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. Also, if another monster gets targeted for an attack while this card's in attack position, you can change this to defense, and then the monster attacks Gagas Samurai instead. So this is really only useful when your opponent kind of has a clear field and you just want to get a lot of damage on. So like, you can, people upstairs being crazy. But yeah, you can basically deal like 3,800 damage worth. He's otherwise not that strong, but it's still a really cool effect. And of course, he can protect another monster, so that's something too. Next card is Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I'd say a little bit crept out by number S39 Utopia The Lightning, but we'll include him anyway. You can detach 2 Xyz materials, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, have its attack, and this card gains the difference. So that's pretty huge. This guy can get really, really big. If your opponent has something that has like 2,000 attack, for example, then Dark Rebellion is going to go up to 3,500, and your opponent's monster is going to go down to 1,000. So you can attack over it easily, deal 2,500 no matter what, and it's just an easy way to swing over troublesome monsters. The only problem with a lot of big monsters is sometimes they'll have a built-in protection effect that maybe stops them from being targeted by this. Like say this couldn't deal with Cosmo Dark Destroyer as well as Utopia the Lightning can. So in some ways it's not as good, but I mean it is a much more accessible card than Utopia the Lightning, so there's that. Figured I'd include it. And the last card that I'm including at least is number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk. So you can target a face-up Xyz material and equip it with this card to give it 1,200 attack. Not as important. The main thing, you can attach an Xyz material from this card, target a card in your opponent's grave, and banish it. And you can actually use this effect up to twice per turn. So this is really valuable for getting rid of those problematic cards in your opponent's grave that you really want to banish. Zodiac Rapier comes to mind, but just anything that your opponent might just bring back. You can even use it on like spell and trap cards, like those spells and traps, Kaiju Slumber, Breakthrough Skill, all that kind of stuff that might stop you later on, Galaxy Cyclone, stuff like that. you can get rid of those. This card it's more niche. It's not really seen as much these days, but you know, it's still a card. So yeah, that concludes my analysis on the rank 4 toolbox. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was sort of informative, sort of eye-opening for people who may not have known what this was. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Also, I'm sure I left out a few monsters off the top of my head. I'm already thinking of a few, actually, like Giant Hand. But, you know, you guys can talk about those in the comments. Let me know which ones I missed out. What cards do you like to run as part of your rank 4 toolbox? Anyway, that's going to conclude the video. Hope you guys liked it. I will catch you in the next one. Later.